my creative process utilizing the MPC1, the Roland SP-404MK2, the Boss RC202 loop station, and the Live 2. So today, it's been a highly requested video. What I'm going to do today is just show you about an hour straight, no cuts, no edits, of how I work between machines and how I use each machine. So right now, you can see I'm arming the Live 2. I have the SP-404 armed, and I'm going to start the sample plan on the MPC1 and recording into the loop station. So right now, the SP-404MK2, the loop station, and the Live 2 are all recording. Each one, it's a tiered setup. So the Live 2 is getting the delay from the SP-404 and the delay from the loop station. The loop station is getting the delay from itself and the 404. The 404 is just getting the delay from the 404 itself. So we have the original sample on the MPC1. We have the sample with delay from the SP-404 on the 404. On the loop station, we have the sample with the delay from the 404 and the loop station. And then on the Live 2, we have the same thing. What's going on, guys? It's your brother OTG. The OTG's for Overtime Grind. Hardly seen, but I'm always around. And today I'm working through the process. You guys asked a bunch of times, how do I work all this stuff together? What is the purpose of doing it? How do you utilize different samples? How do you remember where they are? How do you transfer them? And all of these different questions. Well, today I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to show you. So right now, you just witnessed a sample that I haven't chopped up yet in the MPC1 that I recorded into the 404MK2 with delay and effects, same into the loop station and same into the Live 2. The Live 2 has a monitoring system built onto it. So what I'm going to do is have all of these samples in it. So when I go mobile, it's inside of the 404 and the Live 2 to work on later mobily. Make sure you watch to the end. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Put in the comments how many different beats and how many different ideas you get from this one sample. All right, I'm going to make a beat in the MPC1. I'm going to make one in the 404. I'm working on one right now in the loop station, and then I will make something inside of the Live 2, all with the same samples. So this is part of what you get and part of the plus of doing things this way. The preparation behind this is that I have drums already on the SP-404MK2. I like using the MPCs because they have the 7-inch screens. So this is 100% DAWless. Again, the sound's going from the MPC1 into the SP-404, into the RC looper, into the Live 2. So just how it's pictured on the screen, 1, 2, 3, 4 from left to right, that's how the audio path goes. The RC202 has unlimited overdubs. So if I wanted, I could sit here and just keep overdubbing little pieces of the drums at a time and build up a crazy drum loop or drum pattern. It technically has 4 channels, so you can record one time and then you can overdub. You can hit the overdub button and take off your last recording. So essentially, that gives you 4 tracks to play around with. So now that I have that, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it to the loop station by just holding the right button for 2 seconds. So you see it flickering, and now it's saved. I'm going to go to channel 1-1. I'm going to set my loop to record then play. I have the MIDI is very simple. The only thing MIDI'd on the table is the SP-404 to the loop station. So that way it could carry over. I could start and stop the pads at the same time if I wanted to. So right now, what I did is I just saved that to a pad. That's what we did on the Live 2. We're utilizing the sampler. I saved it. I pressed keep. I put it to program 1 on pad 1. So now what I could do is save that program later and then have everything that I recorded in to chop it up later. Now what we're doing is we are going to auto mark our sample that we recorded into the SP-404. We're going to turn it into 12 chops because we got 12 open pads for the 4 drum sounds that I just used. Part of what I want to do is use the same sounds for the most part across the board. So in my MPC, I'm going to be using my Smackers kit. You could get that from in the description below. And on the SP, I'm going to be using some drums from the Smackers kit that I recorded over from the MPC one. So now we have the sample. We have the sample on different pads. And now what I could do is micromanage the sample. I could go up, change the pitch, change the speed. I'll probably use TR Rec to make a 1-bar loop, and then I will get the drums the way that I like it and then come play the sample over top of it. So I try to come up with an idea. Once I get some kind of idea, another reason why I like having the machines right now, I'm tapping the tempo. So because the MPC's right next to me and it has the tap function, I can see this beat's at 66 BPM, 66 or 68, somewhere around there. I'm going to create a pattern. I'm going to turn my quantize up. And here lately, I've been really liking to start with 1 bar. We do 1 bar, 1 bar loops with TR Rec. We could get pretty much everything the way that we like it, and then we can duplicate out, or we could just make another pattern. But 1 bar or 2 bars gives you the fastest access to be able to create some complex arrangements. So I'm starting with 1 bar. I'm going to go ahead and fill in a bunch of drum sounds. If you didn't know, the green dot or the what's moving across my pads is telling you where the clock is or what bar the clock is on. So when you're hearing the metronome and you're seeing that light go across the pads, that's telling you what note it's on. So if you wanted to play or put a beat on a specific note that you hear, it's also identifying where it's at on the grid for you to do that. So right now we're playing around with the sample. You can see that I had the sample at 133. That's what I recorded it in. That's the BPM. But the SP's telling me because I slowed it down, it's at 98 BPM. But for what I'm doing right now, it doesn't really matter. So I'm not going to go in and manually change it. I like the way that this sounds. Now, once you go out, you lock it in. So if you're in pad mode and you're recording, and once you go out to pattern mode, it's locked in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm back in TR Rec mode, and we're going to add some drums or add some other sounds, other percussion from these TR6S drum kits that I have. I'll put some of those up for sale this weekend so you can have some authentic TR-808 Roland sounds. I'll sample them inside of the SP and I'll put them up for sale. Make sure you check out the other drum kits that I have. You get a bunch of stuff for a little bit, so check that out. All right, so now we are getting into sample editing, and I'm trying to get this one note to fall right on the one. I want to see how it sounds and then see if I need to either A, add some more time in the front, or B, boost it closer to the beginning. We're about to see right now. Now we're going to add some more percussion to add some movement, more hi-hats. You know, remember that you can mess with the volume independently outside of TR Rec, but you can't mess with the pitch. And if you notice, I'm still on one bar. I'm going to try to rock with one bar as long as possible. Right now what we're doing is we looking for another pattern, looking for different sounds, different things to add. You know, that's one of the great things about the SP is you could build out, and you should just keep trying. You know, a lot of guys get to you have your mind made up about what you feel like a beat should have, and there really is no set number or nothing like that. You know, do what feels good, you know, and that's part of what this process and what you see on the table is. It's just me doing what feels good. Certain moments, you know, you feel more inclined to do certain things. And we're blessed to have this stuff if you have this stuff. So you should try to get the best from it while using it. Right now, I'm just copying sounds over to make a couple patterns using the new stem feature. Check out the SP-404 Masterclass and the cheat sheet. if you notice that this pattern doesn't sound like the other pattern, but that's okay. You know, like I said, it's one of the great things about the 404 is that you could just keep building. So one of the things, I made this mistake a lot, but I keep telling you guys is you should copy your drums. Once you get your drums to a certain way that you like them, you should copy them to another pad. So that way when you get ideas, you could just come on quickly and play your drums over top of your our player sample over top of your drums. You know, so right now that's what I did. I just set myself up. You know, I don't know if you guys weld or do anything else, but one of my many jobs I had, part of being OTG, is that I was a welder. And part of the information they tell you, one of the tips they tell you as a welder is you got to watch right now and where you're going at the same time. And that's kind of like the same with beat making. It's like you got to kind of know where you're at right now mentally, and then where you may want to take something. So, you know, even though all of this is off the head while I'm making it, I do know that I like that drum. I do know that I need to fix some of the volume on it, but I also know that I'm creatively inspired by the sample. And so instead of going into mixing mode, what I'm going to do is stay focused on where I'm at and then pay attention to where I'm going. So where I'm going is that I'm probably going to make a bunch of different variations of samples and this one drum pad or drum loop. So the key is to always keep a drum loop open so I can have room for myself and I don't get hit a roadblock with my creativity. You know, part of being a producer is being able to keep the session moving or keep things going, always having some forward progress. And you should remember that when you're by yourself or when you're making beats. You know, learn how to keep the process going. That's extremely important. I get into these creative spells and sometimes doing all that mixing and engineering, and I'm an engineer, so you know I did it for years professionally, so you know I still do it now professionally. So when you're mixing or when you're producing beats, it's hard sometimes not to get into your engineer bag or sound design bag, and that's why I tell you guys a lot of times right now I'm just copying this loop into the looper. You know, I like this loop. I could probably slow it down. We'll play with it a little bit later in the live too. You know, now I'm going to add the sample on top of it. And this is inside of the looper. This is something I didn't want to do inside of the SP. So now I have this in the looper quickly. You know what I mean? And this is an idea I can transfer over to the live too. That's what we're going to do now. Go to the sampler. And I'm just going to record it. So I'm going to get it on beat. Because I know it's a loop, all I'm going to do is just record 10 or 15 seconds of it. And then we can get it and mess with it later inside of the live too. So you can see by the green flashing pad, I just put it on a pad and I saved it for later. So now, you know, I'm going to erase that. I'm going to erase that out of my looper. So that loop is gone and we're right back on the SP. So you can see quickly why having these things lined up. Yes, I could do all of that on one machine, but my productive flow or my producer workflow, you know, in reality, because I know my machines thoroughly, I could hop from machine to machine and do different ideas, save an idea for later, do some stuff and just keep the session going. That's what I was saying before I talked about the looper is, you know, I spent a lot of years as a producer just producing. First I started as a manager. I never even wanted to produce or rap. And then managing this group and working with this group, Triple P, I ended up becoming a part of the group and writing a bunch of songs, and somebody else recorded. And my voice is one of a kind. It's kind of hard to cut through the mix. It's got a lot of bass in it. I have a weird accent, a bunch of different unique things with my voice. And my voice never really sounded good on those songs, which pushed me to go hop into engineering and that aspect of it. And, once I got my first computer way long time ago, way back in the early 2000s, we started recording, and then it was Fruity Loops, and it just kind of evolved to where we are today. But because I came into it from wanting to make beats for my car or make sure my voice was clear, then I moved to Philly and I worked in studios as an engineer, and then as an A&R, and then as a manager, and then I worked with Beanie Siegel and did a bunch of different stuff with him. The stuff that I'm applying now is kind of the first time that I'm applying some of this stuff, but it really is the first time of putting myself on notice about my workflow. So creating an environment that keeps me stimulated to keep creating, and not have roadblocks. So, or not get overwhelmed with small details, or not be in engineering mode when I should be in producer mode, or any of those things. So, this is another good reason for me why I always have this gear available. When I started Beat Builder TV, the goal was to get you guys familiar with your machines individually, and then we would work up to how to work with them connected in ways that made sense. So this is all 100% DAWless. We're not hooked to the computer. Part of what I think helps make you a good producer is understanding that you can have all the tools available, but you don't need to use all the tools. So just because I have 4 slots, 4 effects inside of the MPC, I don't have to put 4 effects on the MPC, 2 effects on the SP-404, 3 more effects, 4 more effects on the looper, and then 4 effects on the input of the Live 2 to have 4, 5, 6, 10, 14 effects on one sound. I don't have to do all that. And I don't have to be locked into one machine or one idea if I could have the mental capacity to be able to juggle between 1 or 2. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's in itself is, some discipline it takes. So right now we're going to record another sample in another loop. So this is just a loop that I have from loop libraries. I think it's a Cymatics loop. I use them a lot. I haven't got any new ones in a long time. So, I flip, chop, reverse, and do all kinds of stuff to the same old loops and break them down, build them up, do all this. So we're going to record this in, and then I'm going to tap in a second. All right, once you have that in, you got to get your stops. Stop it there. Stop it on the SP. The BPM is the same. So you go in, you put it on a pad, you save it, you're right back to the sample screen. Now I want to add some effects to it. So I like to record a clean version, one without effects or minimal effects sometimes. And then I'll record another version that does have effects on it. you know. And so this sample right here has like a underlying baseline in it, and I kind of want to carve that out because I don't want it so strong when I chop the samples that I can't put an 808, or maybe the pitch collides with my kick or something of that nature. So now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to turn the pitch shift on. So what you're hearing, we heard how it was playing at first. What we're hearing through the speaker is, because it's being processed through the Live 2, you're hearing it with pitch and delay on it. So that's what's recording again. Remember, that's what's recording into the Live 2 is pitch and delay. What's recording into the SP-404 is just going to be the 404 sim and the isolator. So right now we have the sample playing from the MPC1 through the SP-404, isolator, and 404 sim. That's going out to the RC202 looper. The RC202 looper is adding a pitch shift and a delay. So we have isolator, pitch shift, delay, and 404 sim being recorded into the Live 2. So we have two different versions of the sample being recorded, and then the root sample that's still clean inside of the MPC. So this is all of the videos where I'm saying, you know, you can record simultaneously. This is what it looks like. And this also gives you 3 stages of the sample. We have a unique sample inside of the Live 2. We have a unique sample inside of the 404. And then we have the original inside of the MPC1. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and chop this. I'm going to manually chop it. You know, people say this is lazy chopping, but lazy chopping is really just using regions or BPM and just quickly setting up your markers to chop it. The manual way of chopping is a little bit more labor intensive. It requires you to be on a beat. You know, it requires you to have some sort of rhythm. Like right now, you see I'm going to tap the tempo in. So the tempo of the sample says 133. I'm not going to use it at 133. I'm probably going to use it at 8333. Somewhere around there, 84, something like that, you know. And that's why it's important to manually chop. A lot of guys think, you know, because they tell you it's 133, if you just chop it in half, you could be at a different BPM, and you could do that. But if you notice, what I always do is I tap it. I tap it out to the rhythm that I'm on, and then that's how we get to beats. So just this fast, this quickly, you're going to see me get to a beat in the MPC1. So next, people ask, why would I use the MPC1 over the Live 2? So to me, the MPC1 is the best MPC for the studio. I always say I keep it available, but you can see why. Maybe you can't, but automatically it doesn't take up a bunch of table space. It, you know, as I'm going to put an EQ on here and cut some of that bass out. The PEQ4. As EA Ski would say, you know, it has the same sound as the Live 2 or the XSE or the X or the keys, the Key 61. So you're getting the same sound quality, but the build of it, I like it. It reminds me of the older MPC, and I like the dedicated buttons for the step sequencer, sampler, sample edit, and program edit. I use those buttons all the time, you know. So the program edit is the most important button on the MPC. I say that a lot. I have videos dedicated to just getting better at program edit. I work through that screen all the time. So, you know, having that dedicated button, and I like the pad size. You know, smaller pads doesn't bother me. I don't mess up. If I do, I'll just re-record it. But, you know, for studio purposes, the MPC-1 is great. It's a great DAW in the box. It's probably one of my favorite drum machines of all time that I own. I love the SP for its ability to be a Swiss Army knife. But the MPC-1, you know, if I had to choose something that I wanted to make beats on 24/7, or if I had to choose one thing to make beats on forever, it would probably be the MPC-1. And I know the Live 2. I like it too, so that's why it's on the table as well. So all you MPC gangbangers who get upset about the different models, it is what it is. You know, I got a Force too, so I like it all. It doesn't bother me, and working this way builds up your sound. So I understand and agree with what EA Ski was saying, but with what EA Ski was saying, but part of what he always says is utilize your outputs and your inputs. So this is partially why I will sample from one MPC to another MPC, because the audio coming in, like I've been saying over the last couple videos, you're printing that audio, and now you have a whatever you do to it to pump it up or make it louder, you're creating a full sound, you know, and part of that is utilizing the inputs, the outputs, and the converters. So, you know, right now we're using the Smackers kit. We're going to make this beat on the MPC, probably go ahead and record a couple copies of it into the SP, and then make a full beat in the MPC. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Make sure you watch to the end. This is a pretty long video, but it's extremely informative. Make sure you're counting how many beats that we've made so far. I have a great number, and make sure you stick to the end. I have a bunch of different things I want to wrap it up with, if that's the great terminology to use. Program edit is extremely important. That's also where you can find your root volumes for your sounds. So one of the things we talk about, or I haven't talked about, is gain staging. If you notice, I haven't really messed with any of the volumes of any of the machines, the main outputs, because I have it pretty much set. And this setup, I'm not even monitoring through my monitors. I'm monitoring through the MPC Live 2 speaker. So the MPC-1, the SP-404, and the loop station are all playing through the Live 2 speaker. I also have my turntable hooked up into the MPC-1. So all of that I audition through the Live 2 speaker first. And so I get a good idea of what my hardware is sounding like, and then it processes through the Rodecaster Pro and into my monitors. My monitors actually are what take the audio into the computer, not the Rodecaster Pro. So all of my processing and signal hardware is signaling hardware, and audio processing is done 100% pre the computer. And the sound that you guys are getting is, so this MPC-1, there's 4 other things before it, before you actually hear it. Right now I'm using the note repeat to create the kick. I like to always go through and check and see if an 808 will work with it. You know, this could use some bass, but I'm not going to use any. Now what I'm going to do is go back, I'm going to hit solo, and I'm going to go back and do some housekeeping and name all my tracks. So that way when I go to the track mute screen, I'll know what I'm muting and what track has what. This is also why I don't use the explode feature, because it'll explode and make the names too long, and I don't really need all that. And I like to have my track mute screen all in 16 tracks with no track mute groups if I don't need to, you know what I mean? So I just am cognizant when I make my beat to do it track for track. So I'll put the kick on one track, go to track 2, put the snare on another track, hi-hats on another. And this is a way that I've taught myself how to use the software. Sometimes I put all the drums on there if I'm moving quickly. All right, so right now I just have one loop. And what I'm going to do is arm the Live 2 and the SP-404, and I'm going to do what I call is playing the mutes. So I have it. I have everything playing from the MPC one, and we're recording the live performance of this stuff together. This is the first, I guess you could say, combination or first set of arranging to try to see how we could put this beat together and if it's worth it once we get done. You know, I don't really even judge beats until they're done and I've sat with them for a while. Some of them I know immediately, but most of them I don't know until I've sat with it for a while. So right now we're recording all this in. I'll probably do another take, you know, because I just learned the sounds. You've seen it in real time, so I just kind of learned where everything was. And in real time, I'm trying to process how I want it to sound. But this goes to what I was saying to you earlier about being a producer and making sure that you just keep pushing forward. So even though I know I don't like that one, which I don't, I'm going to do it again. That's why I just discarded it. Sometimes you got to work through it or just keep doing it until you get it right. You don't automatically go into edit mode and start chopping stuff out and doing all this. That takes more time. Just look at it like practice. Work through to your ideas. Also in my SP-404, I like to record, like I said, when it comes to doing the beat, I see a lot of people love the SP to play effects on their beat in real time or to add that into their beats that they're trying to sell, move, or whatever the case may be. I thoroughly enjoy playing with the effects on the SP-404, but I also know that you can mess a good beat up just being off time just a little bit. So what I do when I'm recording my beats into the SP, whether it's a project for DJ mode or whatever the case may be, we're going to stop this. Sorry about that. When I record it into the SP, like I did now, we take a clean version. And so it's the same thing with the Live 2. So now what I'm going to do is hit resample. And we're going to resample it. And you got to make sure the gate is off. We're going to resample it and we're going to play our first set of effects. So this way, if I don't like the effects, I can erase them. I can get rid of it. I can keep a clean version and an effective version. If I want to ship it out, I could ship both versions out. And I also do things in layers. That's kind of what I was saying a second ago. is we do it in layers. So I may do just the isolator and maybe a couple backspin effects or something. I'm not about to really go crazy with that because I'm not going to utilize this beat for that. So this part of it is more for show and tell purposes. But right now when it's resampling all of the audio coming out. So what I'm doing isn't automation. It's not recording it like it's automation. It's recording the real-time effects of how that sounds directly to a pad. So sometimes layering your stuff will definitely help you out. Meaning, okay, we have a clean version of the beat, and then maybe you come back and add the isolator. And after you add the isolator, you add 404 vinyl sim. After you do the vinyl sim, then you use DJ Looper. This is something that's what I mean by layering. You could keep layering up and just keep evolving your sound. So we're going to do this one more time so I can show you what it looks like. Make sure we get our effects right. Now we're going to resample. We got the 404 vinyl sim going through, and there's one spot towards the end I want to add the isolator so it doesn't come on and distort the speaker. Recording that in, and now here it comes the part with the isolator. Just turn it on real quick. Boom, boom. But this is what I mean by just doing your effects and layers to make sure that what you're doing is in timing and it has a good feel. And you can see that I'm not recording this version into the into the Live 2, but I am recording it in the SP. See, so it's saved now. So now we have 3 versions of the same beat. We have a clean version, one with some effects, one fully affected, and that's just a live performance 1-2 from the MPC 1. Now what I'm going to do is double out my sequence in the MPC 1, and we're going to go ahead and make this beat in the MPC 1, and then it's going to record over. I'll record it over into the Live 2. Record it over into the SP-404, so then I can have another clean version with a different arrangement. And so now we have 2 of the same beat, 3 or with 2 arrangements, and then one specifically with 2 sets of different effects on it. And this is all stuff that we could work on. And as some people would say, this could be canvassing ideas. Maybe I have, we could take these and put them together. Maybe we chop them down, whatever we do. But here's another version of that same beat being done right now. now that we got that done, we're going to fade it out. Now what I'm going to do is record it into the MPC, the Live 2, and record it into the SP-404 at the same time. So now you can actually hear the beat with no click. But you guys didn't think I was going to just let it play so you could rap over it or still it or try to single it out. No way, we're not doing that. So hopefully you can start to get the picture of how this works, and you can see the majority of the work that I've done so far has been on the looper, the SP-404, and the MPC-1. So, we're about 45 minutes in, and in that 45 minutes, we've got a bunch of samples, a bunch of different kinds of beats. And if I wanted to just say this was a warm-up, it's a warm-up. But we have something hard, a hard copy to start to get a feel for. We got a bunch of stuff saved that we could go in now and put together and work on later. We have some stuff that, after I listened a couple times in the SP-404MK2 or in the Live 2, I could go back now and maybe change the pitch of the snare, do some different stuff with it inside of the MPC-1. We're going to make sure that we save. But the crazy thing about what you're about to see is this is also why it's great to, if you have multiple gears sometimes, just to take the extra step. And that's the perfect time to get into this. When I saved, I went to save, and for some reason, it just wouldn't save. So I eventually got it to save, but not on video. I went in, I tried to create a folder. It said it wouldn't work, said it couldn't copy to the drive. Okay, that's a little strange. So I popped the drive out, and I went to a folder that I had already and went to save it. Said it wouldn't save. I popped my SD card out, and it was locked. I unlocked it, tried to save it, still didn't save. What I ended up having to do was put another SD card in there, not because this one was full, and it's still operational. It's just some glitch in the MPC in that moment of not being able to save. And so instead of freaking out and just turning the MPC off, I left the MPC on. But also, guess what? If for some reason I had to turn it off, or I did turn it off, or it wouldn't save, guess who has the beat saved in 2 different machines in a bunch of different ways, plus the sample, plus the drums already loaded on both machines. So this is a reason why, if you have a couple machines, you might take the extra steps, that seem like they're outside of the workflow or seem like they don't make sense. But in reality, they can really be valuable. So you can see now we're on the Live 2. And this is how we're going to end this video out, is by going through some of the samples on the Live 2 that we recorded in. Mess around with those, and then probably chopping 1 or 2 of them and seeing what kind of loops we could get. And now we got a bunch of stuff inside of our SP to make beats with later. We got a bunch, two loops ready to chop up, and one's chopped, 1 beat's done. We got another one to chop and do in the MPC-1. We have a bunch of stuff. So here I lazy chopped. I did it on regions. I set it to 64 regions because I'm just looking for amount of time to play, because we're just going to go into our program edit. and then mess with the pitch and come up with something pretty quickly. So we're going to convert that. On my swipe out screen, I have my sounds. We're loading up the Smackers kit, the same kit from the MPC one, same one on the SP-404. So we got our kit. We got that. So here's a perfect example of utilizing a SP-404 workflow on the MPC. On a 2-bar loop, we created, just threw down the claps, and then we double it out. And now we're going to look for our sample. Go to Program Edit. I have it on the swipe out screen. And even that step is a lot. So as much as I work in Program Edit, I like the dedicated button. That's part of why the MPC one wins for me. I like the form factor, but it doesn't mean that the Live 2 is not good. So now, I like to click my semitone or my pitch box. I'll tell you what that is. Hold on one second. Yeah, the semi spot with my rotary knob. So then when I select the sample, I could drop the sample down to a certain pitch. And now we're going to record that in. And you can see I tapped the tempo. So it's already set for how I want to play the sample and how long I did the chops. And I'm never spending too much time on the BPM trying to get it right. And now we just going to build out. Let's build out around that sample. I don't use the ratchet effect. I just do it in real time by holding a note repeat and then pressing the stuff in real time. I know I could just latch the note repeat button, but I like to hold it. It's just my own personal preference. But you can see I'm pressing 1/8, 1/16 and all of that on the screen to get my hi-hats to do what they call ratcheting or whatever it's called now, We hit Program Edit. We go to the bass of the sample. We turn the audio up, turn the volume up at the bass. We can affect the pitch from right there. And then I may turn this into a 1-bar loop, turn this into a 1-sequence beat, loop it out 64 bars, do some mutes, and then we got another one. So if you watch this far, let me know how many beats you heard in the comments. Maybe a person gets it right, I'll give a free drum kit or something. If we have over 5 people comment, the person that gets the number right, I'll give a free Smackers kit if they don't have it. And I want to just say, as we wrap this thing up, it's extremely important to know that if you have a bunch of gear, that you're blessed to be able to have it all. And instead of looking at the downsides or what things can't do, or what they should make or what they shouldn't make, or what you need to buy and don't need to buy, what you really should do is play around with the connectivity of it, understand and see where you get value out of things being connected together. Think about it. So part of my thought process is that I'm DAWless, and the MPC1, I have all of the plugins on the MPC1. Therefore, I have a full sound library for my SP-404MK2. If I utilize the MPC1 first, if I just come up with a sample, I can record that into the looper. If I come up and record a sample and mess with it on the SP-404, I could record it into the looper. So now I have 3 ways of making beats and changing the audio around with just the MPC1. I could use it by itself. The SP, I could use it by itself. I could use the MPC and the looper by itself, the SP and the looper by itself, or all 3 together. Having all 3 together, now whatever beats I make inside of the looper, whatever I do with that, now is inside of the Live 2. So the chain makes sense because it makes efficiency sense. You know, I have my stems and all of that with my Serato DJ Pro. I have Ableton Live, I have Reason, I have all of this stuff on my computer. If I want to sample the studio computer, it would only make sense that I could be able to do it in my 4 main machines. And my MPC1, I could pop out the SD card and put it in the Force. Or I could put it inside of whatever sample I have on the 404, I could record it into the MV1 later. I could just unplug the Live 2, put it in a backpack, and have all my samples there. I could sit at the studio and have all the samples in the MPC1. So it's about getting a workflow with an awkward workflow, if that makes sense. You know, there's a way you have to remember how stuff goes together, but the value in it, I'm sure you could see just in how many sounds we made today, how many beats we made today, how many options we supplied out of just 2 samples and the same drum kit, how the beats sound different, the BPMs ranged all over the place, and then just within an hour, you know, put it in the comments, how many different beats and different things did we get done. And you could see the value from the SP to the MP to the looper and the ability to record it all. So with that, hopefully you guys found some value with this. This was a really, really long video, extremely informative with bunches and bunches and bunches of tips all throughout. As we get closer to the end of the year, I have a new channel that I'm going to start at the first of the year, Producer Help Zone, where I'm going to be talking a lot more in depth about each machine, not so much in utilizing the machine by itself, but the pluses, the minuses, the reasons why you would record in and out, the reasons why you could utilize or why I use one section versus another section. Right now I'm working on this loop, one of the loops that I recorded in earlier. You know, we getting a start point on that and just checking that out. But I think it'll also have some behind the scenes. I'll do some reviews on new gear that's coming out and why I don't have it, or why I'm not excited to get it, or why I feel like I have something already, or if it's dope and it's on the list to get later. So that channel is going to be geared more towards the mentality of using gear, different thought processes of using gear, out of the box ways of doing it. This channel is going to be dedicated to the step-by-step and showing you the process. And I'm super excited for 2024, super excited for what music has in store, super excited for the channel. I'm extremely appreciative for all you guys. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you share this, make sure you tell your friends, make sure you check out the masterclass, the drum kits, all of that stuff. Make sure you follow me at 365 OTG. We do have a music community over there. I'm building the music community on Facebook. We're building the music community on Reddit. You know, we are a bunch of guys who make music that we plan to do something with. We don't compete with other producers. We're just trying to find a great sound and mold our sound and get what's for us. So with that, OTGers, Team OTG, whoever you guys are, whatever you want to be called, I am out.